Getting back out here, intensity, been happy with how everything's been so far?
Yeah, attitude's been good. I thought we had a little lack of concentration today. It's
right.
Sort of like two-a-days, if you will. It gets to be, it's that same old thing every other day. And try to find ways to change up the tempo. One thing I like, we've done a lot more working with each other, you know, and ones against ones and a few little different drills, and I think that's kept the tempo up. Hard on scout team, you know, they come out day after day for about 8 days in a row and bang around, try to give you a good picture. So it you know, sometimes it gets to be a grind, but it's been good.
I remember last year after the bowl game, I remember you told us there that you wanted to see some changes the way you guys practice the bowl games. Was that one of the things you wanted to see, was more ones against ones and be a little more physical?
That helps a lot, and especially this year, we don't have good depth.
Yeah.
It's been something we've been doing all year, but it certainly has helped pick up the tempo in these practices. And I think Coach wanted to change up the routine a little bit. We went in the mornings a couple of days, and now we're going in the afternoons, and just anything to kind of change the routine, I think maybe keeps them from getting in a rut, if you will.
Do you buy into the notion that perhaps you guys might have a little bit of an edge because having already played a game in that building and you're used to the routine of going into that particular facility?
I don't know if it gives us that much of an edge. I hope it will help some of our players not be distracted, new facility or whatever, if it was a distraction. But it's a hard place to play in because of noise for both teams. So there's no advantage to either team. You were there for the championship game. It was not a 50-50 split. It was probably about 65-35 or whatever, but it's noisy for both offenses, and it will be for the bowl game. I guess I've been there twice for the Chick-fil-A. It'll get just about as noisy. The SEC is a little bit more intense, but it'll get noisy. He's had some good games. He had a really bad game against Kentucky. He had a couple other games where we didn't play his best game, but overall, he hadn't had a bad year. Certainly the consistency part of it has to be better, but he's had a decent year.
That's been true, that whole group back there has.
Sort of. I think a lot of people think they know what they're talking about, and they think they know who messed up. A lot of times they don't know what they're talking about. Stefan's had a very solid year. There's been a lot of criticism. Well, at least I get it. There have been some mistakes back there made on checks and things like that different players have made. Yeah, although we were an experienced group, that wasn't a very old group. Frankly, there wasn't a whole lot of leadership back there. There wasn't a bell cow. There wasn't anybody that could kind of take control of it. The sharpest guy back there was a sophomore who didn't play before games last year. So everybody's leaning on him every time something moved on offense. Frankly, it was loaded. But a lot of little mistakes here and there. When the ball rolls through the second baseman's legs, you get an extra base. When it rolls through the center fielder's legs, you got to run. And that's why it's just like the quarterback. The quarterback makes a mistake, everybody thinks he lost the ball game. That's life in the secondary. When you make a mistake, it's magnified. We had more mistakes in the box the other night than we did in the second.
What concerns you about Florida State?
I think the biggest concern right now is who's going to start at quarterback. Just from a coaching standpoint, because while they run their entire offense with both guys, they're a little different. It looks like sometimes one of them likes to check some passes when he sees certain looks, and the other one likes to check for some option runs or other things. That could be the way it's built in the game plan, or it could just be the way that particular kid is handling it. But that's the hardest thing, just from a preparation standpoint. When you get past that, they're a very talented football team. They got an offensive lineman, first-team All-American guard. He plays that way. It's not publicity. He is a heck of a player. And they've got some really good, talented players on there. They've had a little inconsistency because of having to deal with the quarterback issue. One's hurt, one's back, one's hurt, one's back. But this is a very explosive, talented offense.
What's Antonio Allen?
Doing good. Been a big playmaker for us. Had too many mental assignments. Got to get better on that. He's got a lot of big plays for us.
Looking from our perspective, it looks like he's closed very strongly. Is that accurate? He's played well down the stretch.
Yeah, he didn't play well last game. A lot of bad mistakes last game. But I thought at that time he was really improving. Making some gradual improvement every year.
From your perspective, with Matt, who plays quarterback for Florida State, how are they based on what you've seen on film, how are they same, how are they differ from what their playing styles?
Well, as far as saying one's easier than the other, it doesn't matter. They're both good. They have their own strengths that make it very difficult to defend them. From a standpoint of saying, are they a little different when one's in there than the other? Yes, they are. And I think, again, it looks to me like the fifth-year player, Ponder, has a little more variation. In fact, he probably sees a lot more checks and takes advantage of things, and it's probably put in the package for him to do it. Whereas the younger players are tremendously talented. Manuel can run. He's a big, strong kid, and he can beat you, checking the options and things. So you almost have to prepare for two different guys and make sure you're sound for both of them if you don't know which one's going to play.
Florida State with a few guys anyway, especially down in Sunshine State. From your perspective, how important?
I don't know. Sometimes recruiting's hard to judge. I mean, I don't know that players all the time look at who won a ball game. I think the things they look at, in my experience, more closely, they look at your depth chart. And, they kind of look at what you do as a scheme and see if they fit into it. They're all interested in playing. Most of them have the confidence they can make your team better and win a championship wherever they go. I do think if you're having failure consistently or success consistently, then obviously I think it affects recruiting. But I don't know how much one ball game does affect recruiting. It certainly can't hurt to win, but I don't think it really has as much of an effect on any major recruiting decision by kids.
Has it been easy to keep the players' attention this year because you guys are playing Florida State because it is a big name team? A lot of teams, some of these kids admit they grew up rooting for it because Florida State was a big power back then.
Yeah, I kind of told some other day, we're fortunate to be in a bowl, so it's splitting hairs, but I sort of like the matchup because I think our kids, as you say, they do know more about Florida State. They've probably got guys on that team they played against or played with in high school. We recruit against them some. But to me, it's better than a Big Ten matchup. Matchup out of the Big 12 or something like that, where you're playing somebody you're not as familiar with. I think sometimes that's a little more fun for players. And they certainly know who Florida State is, and most of them are at least aware of their successes over tradition and so forth. I like it personally as far as the matchup. I like it better than a non-regional matchup.